Two fitness bullies in my spin class throw shade at me in the studio and on social media. I get both banned from the studio, one gets fired from her job, the other's illegal hustle gets wrecked TL. Doctor, two fitness bullies shamed me in spin class and later on social media. I use social media against them to get them banned from the studio and fired from their careers. On New Year's Day of 2018, I resolved to get in shape. I was never overweight, but growing up in Russia and spending my very early adulthood there, I smoked like a chimney and my cardio was garbage. Going to college in America didn't help matters because I started drinking to go along with my smoking. I decided to start going to spin class. I work at a marketing firm and chose a particular spin class because I received a free year-long membership as a holiday office party present that year. It was a generous gift because it was a trendy pricey boutique spin studio. I've ridden bikes my whole life, so I thought how hard can it be to ride a bike that doesn't go anywhere, but my first day in class was a rude awakening. It was clear that the class that I was attending, an early morning class for people to attend before work, was an advanced one where a majority seemed to already be part of the culture and very fit. It was obvious I couldn't keep up. The instructor was really nice and told me that since I'm new, it's a good idea for me to ride up front so that I can watch him and copy what he does more accurately, or alternatively he can easily see what I'm doing and offer alternatives if I'm not doing things right. I thought, what a great guy and what a great class. There were these two other students in the class, though, who gradually made my morning spin classes suck. Valerie was obviously very fit. She looked like a model and obviously worked hard to look as good as she did. Boris was her male equivalent. They were both about my age, maybe a few years older, but it was clear they were far more fit than me. They were obviously very invested in that particular gym's culture, in that they were always decked out in the store brand athletic wear. I'm not going to lie, they looked good wearing it. They weren't a couple, but it was obvious that Boris had a thing for Valerie, and Valerie was aware of it and not reciprocating. Whatever they were doing, it wasn't my business. That thing about both of them being far more fit than me, they didn't let me forget it. For some reason, they seemed to take offense to the fact that I was riding up front. I can see why. The front two rows were filled with the very strongest, fittest people. The let's take a selfie sort of gym people, except these ones seemed actually fit. At the same time, all the other super hot girls and guys, especially the guys, were very nice to me and didn't seem to care that I rode up front, whereas Valerie and Boris would always shoot these sideward, disgusted glances at me or smirk. I'm not a confrontational person, so I wouldn't do the thing most would do in that situation, such as say, "The fuck is your problem, bitch?" I always got to class super early to dress up and adjust my bike. The gym has a policy, first come, first serve when it comes to choosing one of the 30 bikes in the studio. I noticed a lot of other people show up early who were also clearly less fit than the stars that occupied the first couple of rows, but they seemed to self-segregate into the very back. I was still new as it was my first couple of weeks, so I sat up front because I was still finding my rhythm. I'd sit right up front, where the instructor told me, so that I could watch him, and he could watch me. Every time he would come in, he would greet me enthusiastically and praise me for my commitment to fitness. It was little wonder his class was so popular. Everyone held him in high regard. Sometimes in class, he would shout encouragements to the class as a whole, but also give personal shoutouts to certain students. Despite the darkness of the room, when the instructor said "Great job there op, you're killing it," I noticed both Boris and Valerie give each other a look and shake their heads, laughing. I never knew for sure why Valerie hated me, but I think it might be because we were both Russian and no one else who went to that early class seemed to be, and she wanted to be the only East Euro girl. Who knows? As for Boris, he followed Valerie because he wanted to get in her pants. Boris and Valerie usually showed up right when class was starting, and the whole place was packed, and yet they were so entitled that there were always two bikes up front, right next to each other reserved for them. Despite the crowd, at 5:30 AM there were still a couple of empty bikes in the middle or back, but that wasn't good enough for them. I'd be right in the front row too. I got there early, and it was my right to sit wherever I please. And yet, despite them showing up at the last second, they shake their heads at me like I'm the one who's got a lot of nerve. Well, this goes on day after day for a whole month, and despite the fact that I'm no longer new and I'm starting to get more fit and don't really need the instructor so much just to survive the hour on the bike, I still sit right up front. I thought maybe the particular bike that I was selecting had some significance to Valerie or Boris, and that's why they copped such an attitude all the time. I always rode on the same bike. By this time, I was a bit chummy with a lot of the other women and knew their names, and we'd hug in the morning. I thought I should make peace with Valerie, if not Boris, who always sort of gave me a I hate you because Valerie hates you, but if there was no Valerie I'd totally go out with you vibe. So, when I saw Valerie that morning, as usual she showed up right when the class started and sat next to me. I politely asked, "Was this your bike before and you were used to it? We can trade if you like." She rolls her eyes at me and gives Boris a look, and like a donkey he smirks too. She actually says, "You should sit in the back. We're motivating people up here and you're hogging the mirror space." There was a whole wall mirror in front of the classroom. I'm thinking, what is this? High school? What the actual fuck? You've got to be 30 fucking years old and you're acting like this. And seriously, you may be fitter than me, but I'm just as tall and don't weigh any more than you do or take up any more space in the mirror, and it wouldn't matter even if I did. We're adults, or at least I am. Sigh. That's what I wish I said. Instead, I just put my head down and went on with my class. Eventually I got so familiar with the other students because the same regulars would come to class every day that we all became social media friends. I even became social media friends with the instructor. I don't post much on social media. I don't show where I work or every single thing I do or my random brain farts. I just post the occasional photo. On one of these rare photos, where I was admittedly begging for approval because I was proud of developing abs, the spin instructor himself commented how proud he was of me. A lot of people from spin class also said nice things. I was friends neither with Valerie nor Boris on social media, but they both liked the instructor's comment on my photo, and my guess is it's because they both like to kiss his ass. They certainly never showed me any kindness in class, unlike everyone else who was supportive of me. I clicked on their names, and my suspicions were confirmed. Both of them practically lived on social media and took endless selfies, showed off their bodies, humble bragged non-stop. They also made no secret of who their employers were. Valerie tried to claim she was a model, even though it was clear her only real job was being a sales rep for a beauty brand. Valerie was only a model in the take a picture of yourself using your iPhone in front of the bathroom mirror sense. So Valerie, I guess that makes me a model too. These two were such idiots that they'd post really dumb things on each other's walls. It didn't seem like they really had lives other than to talk trash against people. I saw that they had one exchange where they were clearly talking about me. How do I know? Because they actually said my name and said that I was ugly and a one-a-ban skinnerfoot and all this other horrible shit. They also talked a lot about other people in the class and said horrible things and actually named names. It doesn't seem like they were friendly with the other people, even the very fit people who in some cases were even fitter. In terms of the class, they were social media friends with the instructor and some of the other teachers on the schedule, and with each other, but not with anyone else. Anyway, I actually confirmed my suspicion that Boris was low-key thirsty. After the spin instructor made a nice comment on my picture and Boris saw that I existed online, he sent me a private message asking me to go for coffee sometime. I ignored the message, which is just as well, because the next time in class he ignored me and just followed Valerie's normal smirk and PSSSSH routine. I don't like to start drama, but I don't like being bullied and trashed either. I screen captured and saved a lot of both Valerie's and Boris comments where they trashed at least a dozen people in our class, and then made a dummy Facebook account. I fired off every screen capture to the owner of the studio, not just the manager of that particular branch, but the owner of the whole company in addition to the branch manager. I'll let them know that these two cretins were trashing many people in the morning class and creating a hostile, unwelcome environment. I was also nice enough to send the appropriate screen captures where Boris and Valerie renamed specific people in the class to those actual people if their accounts weren't set to where only friends could message them or post on their feeds. In less than a week, Boris and Valerie were gone. Both had their memberships revoked and were banned from every one of the brand studios. Several of the people that Valerie insulted were sufficiently offended that they sent emails to Valerie's employer. Valerie, as previously mentioned, made no secret of where she worked, about what a hateful, body-shaming person she was, and how such a person should not be any kind of brand ambassador. From what the other girls in the studio tell me, Valerie got fired from her job. Don't worry Valerie, you still have your modeling career of taking selfies in your panties next to your toilet in your apartment. I had the pleasure of seeing some of the less patient, ripped buff dudes in class who didn't find it amusing that Boris was telling Valerie on Facebook that he could kick anyone's ass in class, openly offer to let him test his theory anytime, anywhere. Unfortunately Boris was too occupied up front getting his membership cancelled and being refunded and being told to never come back. Please to make such arrangements. See ya, asshole. Boris had a one-abe, unlicensed personal training business that he talked about on Facebook, and several of the men in class who had legit training certificates shut him down with a quickness. There's always Starbucks. Maybe I'll go for coffee sometime and buy it from you, Boris Eister. As for me, I still show up early, but I usually find my comfort zone in row 2 now, or even further back. There's always new students, and I like for them to sit right up front, so that they feel welcome. That's what it means to be in a fitness community. Everyone's welcome. This isn't some kind of high school cafeteria you can't sit with us bullshit. I loved the class so much I kept going into 2019 as a paying member, even after my free year was finished. In 18 months I've posted 3 pictures related to the spin class. That 4-pack is coming in nicely, lol. From certain lighting angles, anyway. Goals, sigh. Haven't smoked in ages. Still drink like a fish. It's the Russian in me, I think. I honestly hope Boris and Valerie grew up. I low-key hope they marry, because they deserve each other, though I also hope they don't breed, because that much narcissism from 2 parents would result in a kid with lots of issues. Ended Mill's career after she ruined our lives context. I've posted a bit about my fiance's adoptive mother, Susan, in the last couple weeks, mostly on Just Normal, where I might cross-post this to later, but for anyone unfamiliar with Susan, she was my lecturer when I was at university. Susan hated that I was dating her adopted son, biological nephew, since she found out about us. When we first told her we were dating she tried to kill me via allergy, another story for another day, and after she found out I was pregnant she stalked us, impersonated me, and broke into our flat, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. She made our lives hell, to the extent where we no longer felt safe in our own home, and my fiance and I had to move across the country to escape her. We've been living in our new place for a little under a week. The baby is due in a couple of months and everything is mostly ready. We've deactivated our social media, created new emails, and changed our numbers. Only a few friends and relatives from the town she lives in, which we left, have our new numbers. We had to leave our entire lives, and everyone we knew and loved behind, while I was 7 months pregnant, because we couldn't trust her around our baby. Revenge. On Monday, an email was sent from the dean to Susan's graduating students saying Susan was being considered for a promotion from lecturer to head of department, and they wanted to hear from her students first. The aim of this was to receive glowing recommendations to give to the board. This was not the result. As I changed my email, I hadn't seen this. One of my friends who had my new number and was on the course with me did see the email, and on Tuesday he gave my new number to the dean, saying that he would only give her the number in person, on paper, and only if she agreed to ring when she was alone and throw out the paper and erase it from the logs after. If she was calling from a university phone then the number would go on the call logs that were accessible by all members of staff, but he assured her that this was something she'd want to hear before promoting Susan. So I got this call from the dean on Tuesday. She told me what was going on. My friend hadn't had time to get in touch before she rang, and she asked me why my friend thought I should speak to her. I told her everything. I started 2 years ago when I met Susan's son, the man who would become my fiance and the father of my child. I told her about Susan poisoning me via allergy after finding out about me and her son and the EpiPen incident. I told her about the outside of class harassment I received post-pregnancy announcement, impersonating me, crashing GP appointments, breaking in, ECT. I told her about the in-class harassment, telling me to break up with my fiance, stopping lectures until I left, throwing out my food and drink, trying to reschedule exams, and more. I told her about the last time I saw Susan in person, when she tried to hit me while I was 7 months pregnant with her grandchild. I told her about having to move away. I was careful not to give a location or distance, and filing a restraining order to escape Susan. I thought the uni were made aware of the row, but apparently not. Fiance then arrived home from work, and when I told him what was happening, he was all too eager to chime in with stuff I forgot, copying keys, punching the landlord, cancelling orders, going through our things. He also told the dean about the abuse he got from her growing up. We also gave the dean the names of people willing to support our story, as well as some dates, times, and locations of on-campus incidents. I'd made a note of a few of them, so she could pull CCTV from the campus security recordings. Fiance also told her the story of one of his cousins, Susan's BO kid, who got close with a guy on Susan's course, but the guy was told to break up with her by Susan with a thinly veiled threat against his academic career. We also told the dean about Susan telling me to break up with my fiance and vice versa, so she could better maintain professionalism. The dean was horrified. She had me and my fiance record a video where we said everything all over again, from the top. We made sure the video had nothing to identify a location, and we were assured Susan would never see it. We also sent her all the proof we had alongside it. This was all forwarded to the board on Wednesday and Thursday. She asked my friend for the number again and just called me for the second time, telling me that the board unanimously agreed this was grounds for Susan's dismissal. They said that, while the outside of uni events weren't really their business, they go towards her character and the fact that as department head, she would represent the department, whether she was on the clock or not. They said even without this, the events that happened inside of uni alone, stopping lectures, telling me to dump my fiance, telling that other guy to leave her daughter alone, throwing out my stuff, seeking special treatment on grounds of nepotism, were all abuses of power and enough to justify Susan's dismissal. They asked me why I hadn't filed charges, and I said all I'd gain from filing charges is Susan staying away from me and the row, and moving away has the same effect. Plus, as it's exams season, my tutor work is really taking off, and I don't have the time to go through a whole court case, and I'll have even less time once the baby arrives. The baby is due in about 8 weeks and Susan has already caused me enough stress. Tomorrow, in a meeting where Susan is fully expecting to be told she got her promotion, the dean is now going to give her a week to hand in her resignation. If she refuses, she will be fired. If she does not hand in her resignation, she will be fired. She will not be getting a reference. The only reason she is being given the option to resign is that she has worked at this university for nearly a decade, but if she so much as raises her voice in the meeting tomorrow, she will be fired. Security will be present for the meeting, in case she tries anything. Meanwhile, the friends we left behind aren't hesitating to tell anyone who will listen all about what Susan did during the course of mine and my fiance's relationship. There's not a single soul left in that town who trusts her or will take her side if she tries to fight back, not even her husband, who told us that now all their kids are over 18, he will be initiating divorce proceedings. I don't feel even a little bit bad. I know there's a chance I went too far, but I didn't lie or embellish anything. I just gave the dean the facts as they are. Everything is 100% true, and while it was me who told the dean, I see this as Susan's actions having consequences. Susan has more than enough money to pay for herself for the foreseeable future. She owns her home. Her husband's name is not on the deed, and she bought it before they got married, so she will get the house in the divorce as it's not technically a shared asset or one acquired during their marriage. She will have a roof over her head and money in her bank account, and if she wanted to she could get another job. Just probably not one as a lecturer. I really hope you guys enjoyed that story. Thanks for watching another Reddit Readings video. May Karens be punished away, and may your revenge be ice cream, sweet and served cold. Like and subscribe to find money today. Binge watch your favorite subreddits from links in the bio. Okay, I'm done now, good day.